And yeah, and I'm glad to be here today. Hand back to Kit.
Sweet. So we also have Farah and Abbas Zahedi with us. They're two artists who are part of our Brent Biennial 2022 curatorial committee. So they've worked really closely with us to develop this artist support program, and they're also on the selection panel for the program. So I don't know if you two want to say a quick hello.
Hi. Hi, I'm Adam. My pronouns are they, them, and yeah, I am wearing a black North Face hoodie or fleece, and I'm in my bedroom. You can see some shelves and an artwork by someone called Abbas Zahedi, who was my tutor when I did a foundation. But yeah.
Hello, my name is Abbas Zahedi. My pronouns are he, they. I'm currently on the underground because I thought this meeting was going to happen in real, like in the location, but I read the message wrong. So I'm on my way to my studio. I'm going to be there in 5 minutes. I'm on the underground. I'm wearing a blue overcoat. I have a hoodie on. I've got glasses. I'm at Labrador Station currently, which is like 3 stops away from Gold Hook Road, where my studio is. And I'm on the Hammersmith and City line. There's lots of people here. So it's a typical kind of tube journey, I would say. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. And I'll be back on the call again once I'm in my studio, but I'm listening the whole time. So thank you for this.
Thank you, guys. So before we start, just a quick note on access. The auto captioning function is available for anyone who needs it. It should be showing up on your screens right now, although I think I have to enable it and I don't know if I have. There we go. Okay, it's enabled. It should be working. It's not that good though. So I will say that the session is going to be recorded and it'll be available to watch later. So yes, so that will be much better captions on the recorded version. Okay, so the structure for tonight's event, I'm just going to do a quick introduction to Metroland Cultures and the Brent Biennial. And then I'll introduce Metroland Cohort peer-to-peer. So I'll go through the aims, the offer, the criteria, the application, and the additional support that we've got available. And then we'll talk a little bit about the thinking behind the program. And then we'll open to questions. So let's get started. So Metroland Cultures, for those of you who don't know, is a new charity that's part of the legacy of the London Borough of Culture programme, Brent 2020. So we work to build, share and support art and culture in Brent. So we do this by amplifying and supporting the communities who are already telling their stories in the borough and by bringing in artists and ideas to help tell new ones. So what do we actually do? We create arts biennials and music festivals. We set up paid creative development schemes for young people, and we support artists with commissions across the borough. We also build long-term partnerships with grassroots organisations across the borough, supporting communities to work with artists to make the change that they want to see in Brent. So a lot of the work is about connecting communities and grassroots organising with artists. Okay, so the Brent Biennial. So this summer, we're hosting the Brent Biennial 2022, which is a borough-wide visual arts exhibition. The Brent Biennial had its first edition in 2020 with the Borough of Culture, and we had over 125,000 people seeing free and accessible artworks in libraries, in streets, and other places of everyday life around the borough. And it featured international and Brent-based artists, including Abbas and Adam, who are with us tonight. So we're now working on an exciting second edition of the Biennial, and we'll be announcing more details on the artists and the Biennial theme at the end of this month. So keep an eye out for that. So alongside the biennial this year and beyond it, we're running Metroland Cohort peer-to-peer, which is an artist support program. So all the information that I'm about to share with you guys is available in the application pack on the website. So don't worry about making lots of notes. But we've got some key program aims that I'll share with you guys. So first, this program was developed in conversation with artists in the borough, and was developed in recognition of the need for development opportunities for artists in Brent. So our aim is to support artists with a connection to Brent to sustain their practice within the borough and to gain visibility beyond it. Second is to encourage artists to become part of the wider creative ecology of Metroland Cultures and the Borough of Brent in order to contribute to a culture of mutual sustainability. And third, which speaks to the first two, is to invest in the future of the borough by sharing Metroland Cultures resources, relationships, and experiences with the borough's artists. So that's what we're trying to achieve with this program. What are we actually offering though? So the offer is for 10 visual artists with a connection to Brent to receive a £2,500 bursary to be used as non-restricted funds, participation in 10 bi-weekly cohort learning sessions with industry professionals, and this will run from Tuesday the 12th of July to Tuesday 29th of November 2022. So every other week for 20 weeks. On a Tuesday. We're also offering 2 one-to-one mentoring sessions for each artist, which will be led by an artist or an industry professional. We'll decide that with the artist. Opportunities for networking and creative exchange amongst the cohort of artists themselves, but also from the broader Metroland Cultures team and the Metroland studio artists. We're also offering a dedicated pastoral support and visibility on the Metroland Cultures websites and social media platforms as a member of the 2022 peer-to-peer cohort. Okay, so who are we trying to reach with this offer? We tried to keep the criteria as broad and as inclusive as possible. So firstly, our definition of visual artist is expansive. So basically, if you're interested in creating projects which have a visual aspect, which can be shared with people in a space or online, and you have some examples of this kind of work that you could show us, then please do apply. If you're not sure if what you do qualifies, then please do get in touch and we can talk about it. Second, our artists must have a connection to Brent. So again, this is quite open. You have to be one of the following. So from Brent, born and raised for any period of time, currently living in the area, or you're an artist whose practice or research is based in the borough. Again, if you're not sure if you quite fit into one of these, then reach out to us. We can talk about it, but don't let that stop you from applying. If you feel that you have a connection to the borough, then yeah, please do submit an application. Artists must be 18 and over, and there's no upper age limit. Artists must have a creative practice that can be evidenced by 3 to 5 examples of work in any format. So any format that you can share with us by email, that's fine. And also these examples can be works in progress. So just share with us the work that you're most excited about or that best represents what you do. Artists must have an interest and a willingness to be part of a mutually supportive group, sharing their practice and ideas with others, and engaging in the creative ecology of Metroland Cultures and the Borough of Brent. So this is really important. You know, it's quite a specific way of running a program that we want artists to bring their ideas and their practice and let that sort of guide the cohort sessions as well as the facilitator. So we really want artists who are interested in learning in that way and who are interested in being part of this cohort who are sharing and learning together. I'll speak a little bit about that in more detail in a little bit. And lastly, artists must be able to commit to the following dates. So it'll be from 10 to 3 on a Tuesday, most likely. And we'll have a morning session, we'll have a lunch break and an afternoon session. Okay, so the application then. So we tried to keep this as simple as possible. And my email is open to any requests or concerns around access with this or with any part of the program. But basically, we're asking you to email us the following materials. So your contact details, 3 to 5 examples of work in any format, and answers to the following questions. And this can be in writing, or it can be a single video or an audio recording up to 10 minutes. So first question is, please tell us how you're connected to Brent. The second is, briefly tell us about your practice. What do you create or do? How and why do you do it? The third is, please tell us about any challenges or barriers to developing your practice that you're facing. What do you need in order to develop your practice? And the last is, tell us why you're interested in participating in a mutually supportive cohort of Brent artists. How would you benefit from being part of a collective of artists developing their practice together? So as you can see, all of the space for those answers are fairly short. We're not asking you to produce an essay. We just want to hear in your own words a little bit about your practice and why you think this program would be of benefit to you. Okay. Lastly then, before I move on, so the deadline for this application is Monday, the 11th of April at 23:59, very specifically. If you would like to apply, you can visit the Get Involved section of our website where you'll find the full application pack, and I'll share a link to that in the chat at the end. Okay, on to the last slide then. So additional support. So tonight's information session is being recorded and it'll be made available on our website shortly with captions. We've also got mock application answers, which are available in the application pack if you scroll to the bottom. And these are just example answers that can help you, will give you an idea of how you might approach the questions. The cohort learning sessions will be in person at Metroland Studios in Kilburn, but for anyone who needs to join remotely, online participation will be made available. For anyone facing barriers to their practice or participation in the program, we're also offering a dedicated access fund, which will cover access needs for selected artists. So this could include, lots of different things, BSL interpretation, captioning, assistive technology, travel expenses, or support with care responsibilities. But again, we're really open to hearing from you what you need support with, and we'd be happy to do that. If you need further support with the application, then please reach out to me at kit@metrolandcultures.com. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. Okay, we're going to open to questions shortly. So if you want to start thinking about, any thoughts you have or anything that we haven't covered in the presentation, then please do put those in the chat. But before we open to questions, I thought it might be useful to hear from Abbas and Adam, who will be on our selection panel for the program and who have helped shape its format a little bit. So in conversations that we've had so far, we've talked about wanting the program to be as supportive as possible without asking for lots in return. We wanted it to be really accessible and inviting to the broadest definition of the term visual artist. I think all of us are really excited by practices that exist on the boundary of visual art and other disciplines. So I wondered if you both could tell us a little bit about your roots into art and who you think might benefit from this kind of program, or perhaps who you'd like to see apply. Adam, you might want to go first because I think Abbas is still on the tube.
Okay, yeah. I think I'm not very with it today, so can you kind of prompt me again, please?
Yeah, no, that's fine. So tell us a little bit about your route into art.
I mean, I guess I've always been creative since I was a child, but I decided to really invest properly in the idea of being an artist when I was 17 or 18 years old, when I was still in sixth form college. And at the time, I was very instinctively using art and creative processes to really survive some of the hardships that I was going through in life. And since then, you know, that was 12 or 13 years ago. Since then, I went to art school, and I've developed a kind of artistic practice that kind of sits within the context of the kind of contemporary art world, and some of its like peripheries and different things here and there. And although it focuses on many different kind of things, it does go back to the same kind of thing that started it in the first place, if that makes sense. Yeah, so being an artist is extremely hard, but it can be extremely rewarding at the same time. And I feel like because of the original intentions as to why I became an artist, that's kind of what keeps me kind of holding on through the ups and downs of being an artist. Yeah. What else should I say?
So who do you think would benefit from this kind of program? Or who would you like to see apply?
I think, I mean, maybe that's a hard question because everyone's obviously at different points in their lives. But I think, obviously, so there are practical things, you know, you should kind of sit with yourself and kind of be honest with yourself and ask if you're kind of ready to take on the commitments that the program asks of you, how, like, you know, however kind of like flexible and willing we are to hold kind of differences in that. And like you said, kind of, I think it's important that people are willing to connect with people that they don't know, you know, and be open to kind of learning from strangers, basically. You know, I've done programs like this over the years, which have been so helpful to me. I've done maybe 2 or 3 similar kind of programs where there's a cohort of artists who have come together within the context of an organization, almost to kind of pursue a kind of alternative means of education, which is way more collaborative than any formal education. And I think those have been invaluable to me, building up a career as an artist. I think I think as a creative in general, you just have to be willing to be honest with where you're at in a given moment and be open to sharing that and be vulnerable, you know. Hopefully that's not too abstract.
No, that was really helpful. Abbas, are you able to answer the same questions? I think he's just about got to the studio.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Is the sound okay?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, good. All right, sorry about the delay, but I made it. Yeah, so I mean, my own journey to the arts, it's very long-winded, and Brent is a big part of it. You know, I'm working now as an artist for the last 5 years, and what I found is that, like, I needed a way to transition because my initial training was as a medic. So I studied medicine, and I left medicine in 2011 due to a number of traumas that I received, and kind of like people close to me that passed away. And I couldn't be in a hospital environment, so I left medicine, and kind of started kind of doing some practical stuff alongside therapy, and kind of like things that might seem quite common sense, like just doing workshops. I got really into like cooking and various things, and as a way of supporting myself, I was often open to like volunteering and helping out in different projects. And at that time, there were a number of projects taking place in Brent, especially in Kilburn, and some of these spaces were kind of like places that I could work as well. So I ended up working as part of a team that was starting a food bank, and I worked in a cultural space called Rumi's Cave that some people might be aware of. And I ended up kind of really being involved in these projects at like the early stages of their development. And with Rumi's Cave, I took over the space and was running it for a couple of years, and it was really like a space for me to like experiment culturally. Like I used to hold like different workshops there, film screenings, like spoken word music, lots of kind of art related discussions, and kind of just hosting different people. And it was a space that like a lot of migrant and marginalized communities were making use of. And just in kind of being involved in that type of work, being around people that were like kind of exploring what it means for them to like be creative, so to speak, like not in an art school way, like in a very just kind of like a very ordinary way. Like sometimes people call it grassroots, but it's just like it doesn't have the sort of officialness of like what the art world brings, but it's very kind of important for people to kind of have those kinds of spaces where they can really explore what they're interested in. And over time, I kind of drifted away from like my scientific and medical learning, and kind of from doing this kind of work, I was sort of introduced to like opportunities in the sort of more official art world, and it became a kind of transitional space. And as a process, it took around 6-7 years to kind of even start that transition. But I found a lot of kind of support in that, in particular in sort of working in Brent and working in Kilburn and being part of these projects, which are still around today. So for me, I really feel like what I'm interested in my current position, having kind of worked as an artist and got somewhere within the sort of art world machinery, is to try and find ways to sort of just open up things a bit more in the way that I understand. I feel like it's very hard to be in the art world with the awareness that I have of just like doing a lot of kind of creative projects and working with people on the ground, and like just ignoring that. Like I can't ignore it. And also you're very aware of the kind of power dynamics in the art world, and you're very aware of like the kind of gatekeeping function of institutions, and like how expensive it is to go to art school, and like even to have a portfolio of work is like a big obstacle that if you do it in a way that people don't understand, then it could knock your confidence. So I think my role here is just to like anyone who's interested in anything, I can kind of try to support their kind of trajectory. It doesn't mean that you have to go into the art world, but we're quite keen on this idea of like supporting people to actually figure out what they're interested in, and just to have those supportive spaces like what I was doing before.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate, we are really interested in artists who maybe haven't considered themselves in that context before, and about maybe helping them to figure out what their next steps are, and how we might be able to support them with that. But yeah, if you have any concerns about whether that applies to you, please do get in contact, and we can talk about it in a bit more detail outside of this environment. But I also just wanted to speak a little bit more about the cohort learning sessions and why we have this focus on peer-to-peer learning. So the idea for these sessions was to offer artists the opportunity to sustain and grow their practice, but also to be a part of a cohort, to be part of a group who learn from each other and who hopefully develop relationships that will last beyond the program itself. So not just kind of facilitated by us, but a space that can become independent. So developing relationships with the artists who are in the cohort and who are connected to Brent in some way, but also developing relationships with our studio artists and with Metroland staff and all the people who are going to be working on the biennial as well. So the sessions, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, they're going to be split into two. So in the morning, we'll have a workshop, and in the afternoon, we'll have a group crit. And these will be facilitated by artists, curators, writers, and these facilitators and the content of the workshops will be chosen in response to the desires and the interests of the cohort. So the idea is to have the first couple of sessions planned by us, and then as the sessions progress and certain threads amongst the artists' practices start to emerge, we'll collectively decide about the direction and the shape of the workshops. So they're not going to be a series of lectures, but we really want the cohort learning sessions to be a space for the artists to share their ideas and their practice and to have autonomy over how the sessions are run and what direction they go in. But yeah, on that note, I think we should take some questions because we don't have too long left. So if you have any questions that you have that aren't yet answered, then please pop them in the Q&A or in the chat and we'll come to them. I can see we've got quite a few actually. Okay, Zainab, you asked, will the learning sessions be taking place in Metroland Studios in Kilburn? Yeah, they will be. So we're going to have a room that's dedicated for the cohort, and we'll meet there every other week. But also, if anyone has any reason why they can't come in person, then we can make it a hybrid situation. So we can have online and in-person participation, but we would really like it to be in person as long as it's safe to do so and everyone's comfortable doing that. Okay. Another question. Okay, so we've got a question about how we will choose the artists for the cohort. So basically what the process is we'll have a selection panel made up of two artists, so Adam and Abbas. We'll have two Metroland Cultures staff, so it'll be myself and Eliel Jones, who's the curator of the Brent Biennial. And then we'll have two external creatives from Brent who are to be confirmed. And then as a group, we'll read through the applications and we'll mark each question 1 to 5. And then we'll have a short list from that, which we'll discuss as a group. And how we rate each question, obviously there's a level of, we all bring our own ideas and interests to it, but we're trying to judge it based off of the criteria and off of the questions. So what's your connection to Brent? Is this the most appropriate opportunity for you right now? Is this sort of learning environment, working as a cohort, something that you want to do and that you can describe why this is good for your practice at this moment? What else was the question? Yes. Let me just remind myself. But yes, so basically it will be the criteria with the questions, we'll mark them and then we'll discuss it as a group. Let's go on to the next question. So does the mentee get to choose the artist industry professional they want for their mentoring session? So yeah, so I mean, within who we're able to contact, yeah, definitely. We'll work with the artists to choose someone that's appropriate for them and someone they're excited about. Okay, next question. I think so. Okay, so the next question was with the £2,500 bursary, does that need to be put on your self-assessment as income, or is it an honorary bursary that doesn't get taxed? So because we're not paying you to participate, this is just a one-off bursary. It's a gift. I don't think it's taxable, I think, but I would say check that.
Can I just weigh in on that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, from my experience, it would first of all speak to an accountant. Like, I'm not offering financial advice, but from my experience, if you are self-employed and your work is as an artist, then applying for anything you apply for that generates income is considered work. So even if it's like if you get the DYCP Arts Council funding, or if you get even like the COVID emergency funding, any of these things, it would be counted as income. It's only when you get a prize that you were not nominated for. Sorry, that you nominated for and you didn't apply for. So, you know, if other people nominate you and then you get selected and you get a prize and it wasn't you that did the application with a kind of proposal, etc., because that's just seen as a way of generating income. So it would be good to check with an accountant, but generally, like, the rule of thumb that I've been told is if you apply for it, it counts as income.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay, yeah, we've got another one. For those working on Tuesdays, is it still a good idea to apply? Yeah, I wouldn't let that stop you. You know, we decided to put out the dates so that people knew when they would be happening, and that might give them a better idea if they were able to join. But we're also open to changing these if that works better for people, or, you know, as long as the whole group is flexible to changing those, then yeah, but please don't let that stop you from applying. Okay, does anyone have any more questions? Okay, will chosen artists have a specific work or a project to work towards with Metroland? So there are no set outcomes required for the artists. We do have a small amount of budget that the group, the cohort, can use for whatever they decide. So it could be a group project which has sort of visible outcomes, or it could be a trip, or it could be paying for extra workshops as a group, or splitting the money amongst themselves. It's open to the group deciding collectively. But otherwise, there's not any sort of demands from us in terms of producing something. The only ask is for you to come to the sessions and to contribute and to participate as much as you can. Okay, I think we've covered all the questions that are there at the moment. Has anyone else got any questions or comments before we go? Okay, cool. If anyone does have any questions that come to them later, then you can email me. I'll put my email in the chat right now. And we can talk about it. Otherwise, I'll share the link to the application in the chat as well. And we have just under a month now until the application closes. Okay, I'll just check if there are no more questions. Thank you, Aisha. Okay, I think we'll wrap up here. So thank you everyone for joining us and for sharing your questions with us. And I really hope this has encouraged some of you to apply. And as I said a million times, please do contact me if you have any questions or any concerns about the program generally. And I'll be happy to help. All right, thank you guys. Thank you, Abbas and Adam.
Thanks, Kit. Good luck, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, thank
Bye.
you. Good luck. Good luck. But goodbye.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, you guys too.